the Cranky Gamers.
Hi everybody, here we are for another E3 special. And this morning, our voices are bright and breezy, which is amazing because it is literally 2 minutes past 10. I didn't get to bed again last night until around 4:45 a.m.
Wow.
And woke up at, I think, 7:45 this morning. So I'm literally flagging. I've not eaten very well for the last 3 or 4 days. So yeah, I'm really, really flagging and I can feel it. But I'm not bothered. Because, first of all, let's say welcome this morning to Ricky. How are you, mate?
Morning.
You sounded more bright and breezy than me. I was excited, but you even stole it.
Well, I mean, this is not a great time to record, because I've just come off the back of watching the PS4.
Oh, that's it. You still got... I've just said to you that when it finished last night, when it started bang on time, 2 a.m. I was literally fighting to stay alive. I got coffee galore. And I just said to you, by the end... I actually went to try and play some games on the PlayStation at 4:30 in the morning because I was absolutely buzzing. It had shot me awake. But we'll get to all that in a minute because, well, we are going to talk about the Sony press conference. Just to reiterate, guys, thanks for downloading the shows previously. The numbers on them show downloads are already up, by the way. I meant to tell you off air, but I'll explain later to you. Crazy numbers again. So thank you for watching and listening. I say watching, you don't watch, you listen. Thanks for listening to them shows. I'll tell you how bad a morning I have. I have to have aspirin in the morning. I actually put it in my coffee instead of my water. That's how out of it I am this morning.
Christ, that would give you a kick, wouldn't it?
No, yeah, actually, I didn't know. The only way I knew is that my water was clear. Normally it goes a bit cloudy. And I picked my water up and thought, why ain't it cloudy?
I thought you meant...
No, every morning I have to have aspirin.
Okay.
Tablets, so I take them and I drop them. My regime is coffee, glass of water with my medication. So I've sat and sipping my coffee and thought this tastes a bit weird, and then looked at my water and it was clear, and I thought, where's my asprin? Yeah. And then I looked at myself and thought, oh my God, it's in my coffee. You couldn't tell, but I just laughed at myself and said, God, you need some rest. But I'm going to spend today playing games, I think. But anyway. Let's kick off. Sony press conference, obviously, just a quick reminder, you may not know, but obviously you should do, that Steve and Ricky, they're not here, obviously. Like we mentioned, you might have missed it already. Not Ricky, I have to tell you, it's early morning, mate. Hayden is not here. We know that. He'd got commitments that they're going to give their input at the weekend show, because we will record on Sunday to tidy everything up. But then, Steve, obviously, me and Ricky had to record this, being PS4 owners. Ricky's a bit struggling for time later on in the day at the previous plan, so we thought we'd push it this morning. And to be honest, it's out as quick as we can possibly get it, which is pretty cool. So let's get on with it. Same format as yesterday, and it's like I've took notes. I think Ricky's took notes in chronological order. There'll obviously be hodgepodge again. Hopefully we can back each other up, because when you're typing on the fly and you're trying to watch it,
do.
It's really difficult. Yeah, more spelling mistakes than a third grader. But anyway,
I've got a lot of things underlined.
I've got mine's a total mess. Mine's in bold. It's underlined. It's in capitals. It's in small. It's just, if you looked at this, it's horrendous. Anyway, let's crack off. We can't kick off with anything but the venue and how they kicked off.
How many thousands were in that?
It looked a big place. It looked a gorgeous place.
It's a gig, wasn't it?
It looked like, and I think with the visual effects and the full-blown orchestra that we'll address in a minute, I think it looked like a proper theatre where actual theatre shows must be used, because it was pretty wide. It had got tiers. It was a big place, and it had got an orchestra pit. So, and talking of that, the way it started, faded to black. They followed this guy coming down the steps to the front out of the crowd, and I could hear mumblings in the headphones. I tell you what made it good as well for me, because it was late, obviously early hours. I'd got my Beats headphones on.
Oh, right,
and oh my God, it was amazing. But anyway, this guy comes down and you could hear rumblings of the people in the crowd, and they could say, who's that? Who's that? And it was quite funny. And you did think, well, who is this guy? Yeah. And he was a smartly dressed, smooth looking bloke with a moustache and a bit of a beard, and he'd come down to the front and then stopped. Then the lights went completely pitch black. And then all of a sudden you heard this rumblings of music start. The lights came up, and as I said, a full-blown classical orchestra not only played an amazing piece of music at the start, even with backing classical singers, that I actually guessed what the opening scene was because of the music. And it was clearly set to bring you to this opening. And I immediately saw that it sounded a bit mythological and a bit. And I've got to say, I've just said to you off air, to be in that theatre to listen to a live orchestra playing gaming music must have been an experience.
But it's quite popular, isn't it? I've seen that.
Well, I've
before.
said to you before, and I think I've said to the other guys, and I've been meaning to look for one around the UK. There is an actual thing that goes around. I think it's based with Nintendo, though. I think they do the Zelda music and all the Nintendo music, but it's a full-blown orchestra. You buy tickets and they go and play gaming music while showing gaming clips, and apparently it's an amazing evening. And I would like to go and see it, I must admit. But the guy in question, the music, what it came on to say, they played this music for a good, I think I looked at the clock and it was well over 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it
did go on for a long time.
7-8 minute piece.
Yeah.
So then they came on, and what it was, they opened the show trailing off to this music, and as it turned out in hindsight, the guy in question and that orchestra, they were actually the official people playing the official soundtrack live that also made the soundtrack for the first game that they showed. Massive cheer kicked up when it started straight away, because they started with a very, very different, again, a long gameplay clip.
I was one of ages for the opening clip.
It was God of War, and it was titled God of War. It wasn't God of War 4, 5, whatever. It was just titled God of War at the end. But this clip went on, and I actually sat there, and with the orchestra start, and then this opening clip, I looked at my clock, and it said 2:20. And I thought, you're 20 minutes into your show.
Yeah, an hour and a half.
And I thought, you know what? This could, and I actually sat and said to myself, this could turn out to be a real big mess because they've not got a lot to show. How wrong was I? But yeah, it was shown God of War, and again, it was. I know that you've never been into these.
Well, I mean, not before.
No, and this
because
is
this is. I think it's changed
different.
Slightly.
It has.
It's not so isometric. It's more third person, isn't it? It's more.
Well, God of War has always been that. Perspective.
I'm just trying to think of before. Yeah, what's God
of War is the one.
It's not side scrolling, is it?
No, it's not a side scroller at all.
Quite, but
no, it's not. It never has been, mate. It's a full blown. What you saw last night, that's how God of War has been. The only difference is it's a scripted, chapter moving story with phenomenal visuals. He's got the big chains. It's a kind of Devil May Cry hack slash kind of game.
Yeah, cross with Tomb Raider with like the sort of hunting and the...
Yeah, but it's on. You see, it is a law amongst itself. God of War, and it always used to sell itself on visuals. But this gameplay showed us immediately. It shows what people are debating after. Is it Kratos? It looked very much like Kratos.
He did, and he had a son, didn't he?
And he had a son.
Teaching him.
Now, he's teaching him the ways and the art of killing. And as I say, I've picked up on... I did a bit of follow-up after the show, and it says that he's gone away like to Norse mythology now, which has taken a step in a different direction. Okay. Because one of the powers that came up on the screen was Spartan Rage. When he was battling this big boss at the end, which was amazing. It was this. Yeah, it only flashed up on screen when he was fighting the big boss at the end of the clip. He stepped back and told his son to shoot him with the arrow.
That's right.
On the screen at the bottom, it came on. It said press L3 R3 for Spartan Rage. And when he did, it's when his hands went blue, and that's when he jumped at him and did all the moves.
Did you see any quick time? Because that's always been quite
that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say that.
Yeah.
He did that move, Spartan move. He jumped onto the big giant boss, which they're famous for. Their visuals are stunning.
Yeah. Oh, it looked amazing.
Well, I've got to say, and I'll come to that in a second, my actual visuals of my coverage was very, very poor quality and was nowhere near in HD. So
okay. I was watching a rerun.
Right. YouTube, what I'm actually going to do today, I'm going to watch all the clips of the games that were on last night, but in HD, because I want to see them at the full glory.
Yeah.
But anyway, the game looks different. It looks a kind of, I don't know, it looks a more RPG kind of 3D world.
Yeah. I mean, you could, for me, what I wrote was I could be playing Tomb Raider here, one of the latest Tomb Raider games. You know,
I wouldn't throw it in the same realms of Tomb Raider because
the surroundings.
Yeah, the graphics and the surroundings, the gameplay style of movement. Yes, I agree, and this is what makes it
and the sort of camera angle over the top of the shoulder of the
God of War has always been a bit of a nice cutscene. Drop down into the world, run about, find chests of health and power. Fight loads and loads of things with the big chains, and it's just chaining moves together, smash, smash.
Yeah, but it used to be quite button mashy, didn't it?
It is button mashy.
It didn't feel like it was going in that direction.
This feels like a whole new genre and a way forward. It looked good. I must admit, I did like the look of it. Did we get a release date? I've not got a release date.
Just in development. Right at the end of my stream, it had things that were in development and things that
Is that what it said?
Date. Yeah, it just said in development.
I must admit,
it's going to be next year, isn't it?
Yeah, there was a few dates missing off Sony's conference, but by the by, we'll come to that in a minute.
Quite a lot.
We then moved on after that.
So the guy come out, didn't he? Whatever his name
Sean
is.
Layden comes out.
I like him.
He's one of the big kahunas at Sony. He's a nice guy. He came on. And straight, I just want to say off the top, because we now know in hindsight, all these shows in the past have had hardware, they've had sales numbers.
I was waiting for it, literally. I put it three times in my notes. Here comes the stats. And
right. Let's just say, to save your breath that's not watched it, this is the most jam-packed games keynote I have ever witnessed watching E3. They literally...
Did they do any hardware?
No, they didn't. Well, obviously the VR, but they just showed the games.
VR, yeah, that was it.
So they mentioned no hardware, nothing, not even sales figures, how well we're doing, because they are doing extremely well. I like the statement at the beginning when they said, we're all about the gaming and we're going to show some games. And boy, did they. Because that show, I think only 3 people came on stage and actually spoke. The rest was gaming. And I'll tell you something that I was brought up now. I meant it to you because we mentioned this yesterday. We was questioning if Microsoft had live players playing the actual games. Yeah, it was 100%.
Thumbs moving
it
around.
was 100% crystal clear because they made a point of showing that every gameplay demo live on stage, the guy was a cut screen. It was showing him sat in a little box.
Boxes on the right-hand side and the main box in the...
main box. There was the main room in the middle. There was the guys sat in a little cubicle. Clearly they was playing the game on the console with their own screen. The guy who was playing God of War, he was quite funny. He was putting his thumbs up. He was doing actions and everything. He was quite funny.
I still got a sneaky feeling that might have been pretty...
No, I actually went out of my way. I stopped watching the main screen and I watched their screen.
I don't think it will be real. I think it will be pre-recorded because each scene on all the games they showed had clear cut-off.
Right, I'll come back to that because
if you or I are up there, we could have died.
No, but listen, this is what you're missing. I agree with that, and you're right. But just let's use losers' brains a little bit. Yeah, these are guys that make the game. These are guys that's probably played that scene 1,001 times.
I'd like to think that's
It is real time, I'm telling you now, because I heard IGN talk about it. They even mentioned some of Xbox's was real time as well.
Because don't forget, but I don't deny that gameplay is real.
No, but that in playing that game on that stage with that orchestra, the first God of War was real. Because I've heard people say it after the show, and they're actually there. Don't forget. So they get to see it and say it. I've heard them also say that some of it's not real. So I think some of the Xbox ones wasn't real. But by the by, I just find it that they went out the way to show that split screen of real-time gameplay. And I don't think you'd go to that much trouble if you was trying to hide something.
Yeah, well, Xbox put them up in sort of like make them stand up, whereas the PS4 let them sit down.
The thing with the Xbox, it shows you them stood on a massive stage looking at a screen down on the floor. I mean, by all means, it could be right and it could be true. But PlayStation were actually in their own little room. You could see the controls, you could see the consoles, and you could see the screen. And and like I say, these are the guys that make the game. They are going to know how to play them. They're testing them, aren't they? They've built it. So
all in all, it was a good start for Sony because that sort of took in direct sort of competition with Xbox and Gears of War.
It did.
So I mean, this is Gears of War, God of War.
It was a big, I mean, I must admit, I kind of laid off God of War towards the end of its franchises because they are samey, they are kind of button mashing.
But you love the Tomb Raider. I think this is the direction it's kind of heading. I know it's not going to be exactly like that, but I think you like that type of game. I
don't see.
Think you'd be back in the pot in this one.
If it is what they're kind of talking, they've changed it in a new direction. It's not that drop down chapter button bash move to the next chapter. No, it doesn't look like it because of the powers.
You
have
bows
presses.
and arrows, and
looks good.
Weapons, and you're killing animals. And
Some of
get crafting and
some of the chat after was saying that it looks a complete new direction. They were saying that could be like a prologue, and the actual game could be his son playing and not Kratos.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean there was offering all good ideas, and there was some good ones. But anyway, let's move on. Most of the things did this, by the way. Sean Layden, when he came on stage, firstly addressed the terrible terrorist event in Orlando and passed the thoughts on to the people. That got a good round of applause. It's very hard to say that and then jump into video games, I guess. But they did address it. And I do want to say as well, before anybody says anything, Microsoft did address it.
Well, they have the little things on their tops.
Yes, they did, but I don't know what feed you watch, but I watched IGN and they went to that feed slightly late and only just caught the end of their tribute.
Yeah, I'll go on that one.
Yeah, they did a tribute
as well. They knocked out those little sort of emblem, those sort of
ribbons.
Badges quick, didn't they?
Yeah, without sounding too crass and thing. America do that kind of thing, though, don't they?
Oh, they've got a team ready. Anyway.
All right, we move on. He talks of the teams that make games. And, that's basically what Sony have always been about in the last few years.
And then he talks about the live orchestra and
the orchestra. And what I do want to state that I didn't state about that orchestra, they wasn't there just for God of War.
No, they were playing soundtracks to all the games.
Different composers came on stage and actually played the music for every single gaming clip that came on that screen.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's why I said to be in that audience must have been one of the best experiences ever. But anyway, they moved on. He started with the next clip from Ben's Studios. We had seen clips of this before, but it was of Days Gone, it was called.
I hadn't. Where have you seen this before?
It was they showed us a bit last year. It went in a new direction. The start of it looked very nice with the two motorbike riders about a world that's gone to crap. A lot of people not too negative on it after, but a little bit negative. But it's an amazing zombie shooter, yet another one.
Yeah, so it's kind of a mature...
By the way,
isn't it?
Somebody quoted after, that is the 7th zombie game shown at this E3. Now, I said last year we was all zombied out. Now, I must admit, without giving too much away, they actually closed the show with a live gameplay of this same game. So they covered it kind of twice. They covered the game at the start to show it you and talk about it and a clip. But then they actually finished the show with just a 20-minute clip of basically... I must admit, a heart-stopping running away from zombies, and it was quite a very good clip in the end. There was absolutely hundreds of them, and it looked quite good. I mean, to me, looked okay. Not my cup of tea. I can't see me playing it unless it's a very cheap, later-release game for me. I don't know about you. What's your thoughts?
Might be just all about the story, this one. We spoke before this, didn't we, where you said things like The Last of Us and Uncharted 4, whilst might not combat be very good, but story-wise might.
This is what
this could be a real good killer
We talked
story.
privately, didn't we, for a second, and I said to you, what you've got to do, especially you, because you don't get involved in these kind very much with your Last of Us and the others, that the games themselves, the storyline carries a game, and I've got to say, this keynote for me, before we get through it, was very heavy on story-based.
Mature as well, mature storylines.
And we'll talk about it, as I say, we're going. Yeah. Next clip, this was raised a few smiles. The never-ending story of The Last Guardian. It's been here since 1922. Everybody wanted to know when it was coming out.
It looked much better this year.
Oh, it looked really nice this time. And obviously it will do, because when they put the date up of October the 26th, the crowd lost their shit.
Yeah, so
they went
about
mad.
3 months away.
It is. I mean, October again. The releases that's in this keynote, mate, I'm telling you now, how people are going to play these games this year, God only knows.
Do you think this is going to be a full price title? Is it?
Yeah, no, I don't think it will. I think it'll be around 30 RRP, I think.
Like Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah, what I will say about it, just one clip that people have talked about, the little cat dog thing, the big monster or whatever it is, of the little boy. For the first time in a new clip, it showed 2 of them, and one of them looked a bit of a baddie.
Can I ask, what's this game about?
The game is about that kind of world.
Yeah,
that little boy is the star of the game, with his little bit of a cat dog. He finds that mythical creature, but they kind of own together. And the clips from last year showed some real clever... It looks like you've got to get from A to B in these nice environments, but you've got to use that animal in clever ways to puzzle kind of solve, where last year's clip showed he had to jump across a bridge and couldn't reach, but as he jumped, this creature, which is massive, by the way, in context to him, he was jumping over large gaps, and instead of falling to his death, the creature's tail swooped down and grabbed him. So they kind of work together. I have heard there's a story mode in it as well, obviously a big story mode with this kid having some kind of thing to do. I must admit, it looks beautiful, and I think...
It does look good, but I'm not too sure. I need to see a bit more about that. I mean,
yeah,
you can get
I'm with you. I mean, we just followed this game because of its history, to be fair. Yeah. It's been talked about at virtually every single E3. It nearly died 4 or 5 times, but finally, like we say, October 26th.
For some reason, I get the feeling that game is an old game that's being ported up. It's not, is it?
That game was first talked about at the end of the PS2 cycle.
Was it really?
Yes, that's how long...
That's why I feel it's an old game.
Well, this is why it's taken so long, and they've finally, I think, given a kick up the backside to say, right, let's get this out. This is becoming an elephant in the room, and I think that's exactly what's happened, because we've just mentioned the visuals from last year's clip have moved on again, and it's clear that it's ready for release, obviously, a few months away, so... There you go. Yeah. Right, next clip, next game, another long game clip, which I loved. This, to me, by the way, before we start talking about it, this is the second highlight of this entire show for me, this game. And it is, of course, Horizon Zero Dawn. They showed a lot of it last year. Yet again, sadly, not long after last year's events, people were getting super excited. It was given a delay until next year, which is a bit sad, because I'll tell you why.
There's so much coming out this year. I think we can do a few.
This game, to me, the gameplay they showed, it's the one, if you can't remember the title, guys, you will remember the clip. It's the one that's kind of set, and it's ever so weird. It's in like a Stone Age kind of era, where you're living with bows and rocks and flints and that kind of stuff. You play a girl protagonist with long red flowing hair. You'll remember her. But then the actual things that you're fighting are roboty, mechy things.
See, what I wrote was...
Can I ask a question? Did you know what this was from last year?
Yeah, I did straight away. Okay. Yeah. I wrote it's Tomb Raider crossed with Far Cry Primal crossed with Transformers.
Right.
And almost a little bit of Dark Souls kind of boss fight. You can... Because the boss got really big and massive. But
what I really like about this game, like you've just hit the nail on the head, it's like a hodgepodge of all games brought into one. But it
graphically looks great.
Graphically looks phenomenal. But what I really love about this game, I love the open worldness of it.
Yep.
And what I absolutely love has grabbed me by the throat and shook me is the point of where you can clearly see that she's analysing every creature that she sees, because they are full of different resources that she clearly needs to do whatever she needs to do.
Didn't she hack that bull, that mechanical bull?
She's hacking. When she hacked that bull, she needed a ride to get across the map. So she went and found a bull creature that was very angry, but she did this brilliant, and it's the one, I love the weapon where she fires that bow and it pins them to the ground.
Oh, that was great.
And then she walked up to it, touched it, shoved a thing in its head, which then like kind of hacked it, and this like thing flowed over the back of its mane, and then it was tame. She jumped on it and legged it to this boss battle. But again, she's analysing every item, every protagonist, every monster, because it's clear she wants resources, because she used resources to make bombs. So you're right, it's got RPG elements.
Oh, absolutely.
The thing about this game, I absolutely love it, because I wanted to play that then.
Yeah.
I wanted them to say, here, there's your copy, go and play it. And it was so sad it's next year, but like you say, there's a lot to be doing. But are you into this? Because I know
that looks amazing. It's a must-own, that particular game. At the moment, the two clips we've seen so far, they haven't done anything wrong.
No.
All they've done is hyped it up even more this year.
Correct. They're just bringing the games forward because we're getting closer. I mean, to be honest, I am sad it's next year. But like you say, there's a hell of a lot coming.
So far, what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4 games spoken about, all PlayStation exclusive.
And brand new.
But the thing that they didn't do, like Xbox did, is they didn't ram the fact that it was exclusive down your throat. With that
I'd never heard it mentioned.
Yeah, it was just assumed.
Unless I missed it, I never really mentioned it.
No, I didn't see it either. I mean, at the beginning of each Xbox One, I had that kind of Xbox and Windows 10 exclusive.
Oh, yeah, Microsoft pushed exclusivity. They did do. Like I say, I didn't hear it mentioned on the stage once, unless I missed it.
Yeah, but just make an assumption here.
Just to go, like you say, 3 or 4 games in, already I was feeling like they're showing new games.
God of War, Days Gone, Last Guardian,
I'm thinking
Zero Dawn.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
3
anyway,
games, one now.
After Zero Dawn, we then moved to a clip that, again, new IPs, new games where the gameplay just sucks you in and you think, Christ, I want to play this.
Immersive, mature.
And it started a clip of a robot android going into a room where the scenario was clearly Dark Knight, and over the radio they were saying an android servant has taken a young girl hostage, please go and sort this mess out. Yeah. So this android walks forward. It looks human, but it's clearly an android, and he stands there, and then the parent comes out with a policeman and screams at him and says, please don't send an android in to save my daughter. And she's hauled away. So then the gameplay focuses on this android and you're playing him. And he goes outside onto a big veranda on a big high tower, SWAT's flying around. You picture it nighttime, very tense. And there's this android stood on the end of the precipice with a girl round his neck with a gun. So the android you're playing basically tries to talk this other android down. Now, the first scenario that happens, this discussion fails, and he jumps off the side with the girl in his hand, clearly just killing them both. So you think, oh my Christ. But then the game paused. It went into your android's thoughts. It rewinded and played out the scenario again, but made different choices. And you thought, okay. But then in the length of this clip, it literally showed 4 or 5, 6 different choices of an outcome that you have to make. And in the end, he saved the girl. And sadly, the other android felt betrayed and got shot and killed. But what I have learnt since then, I'm not 100% sure. I meant to do some research, but the stuff I learnt after, this is the same people that made Heavy Rain.
Okay.
With the choices.
Yeah.
Because it's choice-based and different choices you can make.
Right.
That's what this game's. And the game's called, by the way, again, a clip was shown last year. It's called Detroit Become Human.
Yeah.
What has been touched on, the gameplay of that game shown last year has completely changed to the game this year.
Yeah. See, it had some elements of L.A. Noire, where it was kind of like a crime kind of guide, and he was investigating a scene and looking at stuff.
But it had got a Quantum Break kind of feel.
Yeah, but then I thought it could have been developed by the people who did Life is Strange, where you had that rewind mechanic and you could replay the same scene and with different outcomes.
This is it.
I hope not. I hope it isn't. I hope literally get one chance.
It didn't look like that because he played in the space of 2 or 3 minutes 5 or 6 different scenarios. Now, whether that was editing.
Yeah, do you think that's the next time we play it through, or can you rewind?
I don't know. I think,
so it's to be shown, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think that was a bit of clever editing to show that what can be the outcome. Now, how they do that in the game is like what you say. We don't know yet.
So it could go 2 ways. If you rewind and replay the same scene, you're looking at a Life is Strange, but a AAA kind of massive title. Not saying Life is Strange wasn't, but it wasn't AAA, was it? It wasn't full price, whatever.
Life is Strange, which is that?
That's that's kind of like the episodic story game.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you could
rewind the scene.
Yeah, got you. Spot on. I know which one. I finished it. Yeah.
Reminded me of that. I only played the first one.
What I will say.
But if you can not replay the scene, you've got to play the game through again, then it felt like Until Dawn, because it had that butterfly effect, because each decision.
I will say
gives you a different ending.
I will say yet again another game shown, new IP that completely sold me. Yeah. I'm sat there watching that clip, and when that clip's done, I'm thinking, I want to play this.
Yeah.
Because it's new, it's fresh. I had a thought this morning, laying in bed, because I was pre-thinking of what was coming on, what we was going to talk about, and I actually said to myself in bed this morning, yes, I do talk to myself. There's nobody else to talk to. But anyway, I sat there and thought to myself that these new IPs that are coming, that you want to play, and we're 2 years into a generation. And I know I say this on the show a lot, but we're now 2 years into a generation, and both companies are already not only talking, but have got ready and will be getting ready new iterations of a console. And yet we are still talking about remakes and backwards compatibility. And to me, I know I got a bang on about it, but guys, we're 2 years into a cycle of a new generation console with new ones coming out. and we're still talking about old stuff. We need new stuff like this. This is what you're paying your money for. This is what you're paying them silly amounts of money for, to play new games. What's the point? You know what I mean? Exactly. The might would just bring a retro console out and say, here, play everything that we've already played. And I just love the way that new IPs are taken, and this is where it was starting to go. Let's move on then to probably what made the internet explode. They then come up with the PSVR. Now, I'll have my thoughts of how they handled PSVR and how much they showed. Not as much as I thought they was going to, but what they did show was amazing, which we'll cover in a second. They then come on and talked about the VR. It's coming out. Now, worrying for me, and I haven't done research to find out, but it will no doubt be talked about on the shows today, because believe it or not, by the way, do you know the 2 keynotes we've just watched?
Yeah.
Do you know that is only the start of E3?
Yeah, I know, it goes on a week, doesn't it?
What you need to do now as listeners and viewers, you need to go and find a website, like a big one, and go and watch their feeds, because what they're going to do now for the next 3 days is have all these games that they've shown you on their stage being played. That's what you want to go and watch, and that's what I like doing. That's what I'll be doing today. But anyway, the worrying thing, or slightly worrying thing, because I know they've got to sell you this, because it was VR talk. You've said it's big games. Now, what I want to say, they actually announced an official date.
Yeah.
But only in the USA. Which was slightly worrying to me, because Sony are big on giving release dates across the board. That frightens me. And I've got a really naggy feeling that we could be seeing the year after. And if it is, I'm going to be so pissed, I cannot tell you. But anyway, October the 13th, $399, same price. They did also announce that 50 actual games will be ready from October to the Christmas period only. So there's 50 games ready, with way more coming. Now, we'll kick off. They showed a clip. Now, this clip blew my mind. Now, I've got my headphones on. It's 2 o'clock. Let's set the scenario. It was the kitchen out of the kitchen demo.
Yeah, because it came up with something before.
Right, it said.
Before the kitchen.
It said, it came up, it said kitchen. And then it said, before the kitchen. And it then went in, VR, don't forget, because they're showing a VR reel from now on. They went into this dark, dank house that was clearly a horror game that you was crapping your pants on straight away. But what they did, they walked around this house, clearly in VR, you can see the actions, you can see him looking in drawers and picking things up, and you can hear noises, and I'm thinking, Jesus H. Christ, this looks scary. He then walks around the corner into that kitchen I watched in VR. That is the actual kitchen that they played in that clip, and I sat there and thought, holy shit, I was sat there looking this way in this kitchen, and that just literally pulled me into this game, and I thought, my God. But then, we've still no idea what's happening. It goes through the house, it's really scary. And I'm sat thinking to myself, and I'll cross this when we've talked about what it was in a second. I'm thinking, this kind of game in VR, you will be absolutely shit scared.
Yeah, well, I thought
witless. Seriously.
And this game will give me a heart attack.
Right, I'll come to some points that was very well raised later. Yeah. But anyway, walk around the house and it looks fantastic, and then this game, and it just looks a full immersive VR, and it said full immersive, full game experience, and you're thinking, Christ, this looks just what I want. Horror, you're going to scare yourself crapless. They pull outside. And I'm waiting to type, because on my notes I type all the bump, then I put it's called ... and I'm waiting. Yeah, the screen comes up and it goes Resident Evil 7 full VR experience, and I'm like, my mouth has gone
the whole game. The
crowd has lost its shit, gone mental. Now I'm hearing, we need to cover this. First off, guys, if you didn't know, there is a Resident Evil 7 demo now available to play on PlayStation.
Is that now? Oh, okay.
Now, it's just a normal joystick.
No, I wasn't sure whether they meant at the auditorium.
I've heard since then it's at the event. I looked for it last night. Clearly, it's too early. I'm going to look this morning. So there's a thing. Now, the real big crap and aftershocks about this, people are still up in the air because it's not been officially announced. People are saying this is 100% VR game exclusive to PlayStation, so nobody else will be able to play Resident Evil. Now, that has caused a bit of a, as you can experience, a bit of a hoo-ha.
Yeah.
I've heard chat after, I've heard chat after that it might not be exclusive. Definitely PC.
Yeah.
But as for the rest, I'm not quite sure, and I'm sure we'll hear more news later in the...
Well, that's happened before. I mean, Xbox had Tomb Raider, and still has Tomb Raider.
Let's just go back first to the VR experience of Resident Evil. Now, I watched a couple of after shows for an hour, and they were saying, and these are people that's played VR way more than I have. I've had one experience, and it was the kitchen. I've explained to you guys, it literally scared the shit out of me, and it was, even though it did, it was an amazing experience to behold. I was sat in that chair, I was in that kitchen, this creepy woman come at me with a knife, and I physically, for the first time, playing a game, I could feel my heart bounding in my chest. And when I finished that little clip, I literally was gasping, and I thought, Jesus Christ, now, you've got to put that 100-fold into a full immersed... We all know how scary Resident Evil is as a game anyway. Now, you stick that headset on. Now, what they talked about, and they said, they really think, a lot of experts that have played VR more than we have, they said that this game could actually be unplayable by most people.
Yep.
Because it really is going to scare the crap out of you. Now, I've got to say, I agree with that 100%. I'm a wuss. Show me any horror films with kids in it or little creepy dolls, and I'm running off like a gale in a field. I'm off. Leave me alone. I ain't playing that. And I don't. You saw me with Outlast. I don't like them kind of games.
What about just taking a backward step from the VR part? I mean, well, from the gaming side of VR. What about watching a movie? Because you mentioned it to me last night. I mean, what was it, 200-inch
226-inch screen they give you.
And you watch like a horror movie like The Conjuring.
Yeah.
In VR. I mean, that's going to give you a similar sort of experience, isn't it?
This whole VR thing on PlayStation. Oh, I've missed a massive point, by the way. Massive point. Whether it was talked about later, but here it is. Yeah, it's come on now, and I'm really glad I've put this notes. I don't know if you noticed this, but not a lot of other people picked up on this, but they actually quoted on stage, and I like this quote, because a lot of talk has been on about this new PlayStation coming, and I want to get something out there that people are really confused about that I've learnt this week. You know the little black box that's coming with the PS whatever, 4K whatever?
What, with the VR set?
Yes.
Yeah.
The little box.
Yeah.
That contains absolutely no power boost of any kind. That box is merely a box to carry video and sound signals to and from the headset to the TV to the PlayStation. Okay. It contains no power boost. There's been a very big... We've heard it ourselves. This little box, you need an extra power boost.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not. It's visual and audio has been said many times. Cool. What I am going to say now, they actually went out the way on stage last night to say these words. The PS4 contains enough power to run the PlayStation VR as it stands now, because there has been a lot of rumours running about, well, this new consoles, you need it, it's not got enough power to run VR. Well, no, they said it on stage. The current PlayStation is powerful enough to run VR as it is on their system, which I loved. Yeah. Not many people picked up on that after, and I was surprised. But anyway.
And he said 40 million PS4s.
45 million. They say 40, but I think they're now near 44.
45. You can just play it now.
Crazy. But anyway, it is a demo. I'm actually going to have a go at that this morning, if it's still up, because I'm not a horror game fan, but I am a Resident Evil fan. We all are back in the day. And this looks, the VR experience to me, I will try it, obviously. You cannot have a VR headset. And can you imagine, this is what I chuckle to myself, let's get all your friends and family around, I'm going to show you some VR, and stick them in Resident Evil.
They won't want to leave.
I think that would be one of the best experiences as a family ever. You will sell VR right there.
Yeah.
You'll probably scare everybody to death, but that to me would... Can you imagine being in that environment for the first time of testing VR? They'd be like, oh my God. But anyway, the game itself, I mean, are you... Has this been the one that's kind of tickled your fancy? You have been the one that's been on the back burner. We've talked about big games.
But a couple of the other ones.
Right, we'll move on then, shall we?
And I'll tell you which ones they were.
Right,
You'll be surprised.
We'll move on. So, here we go. Then a montage continued with VR. I will say, I was a bit confused, and I will ask you when we get to it. They came on and said, here's a VR spectacle. They showed the Resident Evil.
Is that what you're asking?
When did it end? I don't know.
I think it ended at the Crash game.
Right, I've got different views to that, but we'll come to that in a minute.
So it could have ended the game before.
Well, we'll come to that. So the clip of VR comes on. a studio. The next game they showed was an Impulse Gear game. It was a shooter. I missed the title of
Destiny and No Man's Sky. It's called Farpoint.
Called Farpoint. It looked really cool. You was on a beach. It looked in space on a planet. There were some weird creatures, but again, a full immersive shooter in a VR environment. Again,
pretty cool.
Good selling point. Like it. Looked really cool.
Now, this next one. Wow.
Now, this one...
That's what we've wanted.
I actually, if you remember my quote from yesterday, I said this to a T.
Yep.
Now, imagine the orchestra starting to blurt out the famous Star Wars. That must have been goosebumpy in the studio thinking, holy crap. And what they showed, and this needs to be clear as well because it was cleared up after. It was Star Wars. You were in ships. You was in VR. You was in a X-Wing ship in space fighting. Holy shit. End of story. Stop the show. Done. Finished. Give it me now. However, it did look stunning. It did look amazing. It's what all Star Wars fans wanted. Since that's been showed, it is out of Star Wars Battlefront and is only one mode.
So is that going to be a bolt onto the existing game?
It's literally a DL. Yeah, you've got Battlefront.
VR,
so I'm going to have to buy Battlefront, no doubt, which I actually might jump on while it's cheap before everybody goes mad.
Is the rest of the Battlefront game going to be VR? Or was it just that one?
No,
mission?
well, this is what the unclarified versions are. It's clearly they showed that clip in space as a fighter. It's similar to the mode I like, and I actually only play in Battlefront. You know, the ships flying about in the mountains I absolutely love. It kind of strikes me as it's going to be like that. You're going to have a battle in there, which... They can't sell that standalone, it'll just be too cheap. They're going to bolt it onto Battlefront, which, to be honest, isn't a bad thing because you are going to get the game of Battlefront with it. I see this kind of thing happening a lot, by the way, this bolt-on for VR, where you're going to have a game, a main game, and with DLC or with future updates, they're going to say, here we are, here's the experience, because the next two that followed, a cracking bit of montage which showed, get ready for this, a lovely little clip, really mysterious, dark voice. I picked up on it straight away.
Whose voice
With the
was
voice,
that?
I got it straight away. Yeah. It was obviously Mark Hamill playing the Joker.
Well, do you know what I did think it might be? He started talking about the mask. I thought it might be that On Rails Until Dawn VR game that they
didn't show that at all, by the way.
They didn't, but I thought it could be that, but then...
I have a feeling that VR on Rails shooter with what I've seen since then, I think that could be given away free. I don't think it's because it is literally an old style on the Rails VR. I think that's going to be one of them in quotes experiences that they're calling it. I can't see that being sold a standalone game because it's just on Rails. It's testing the technology. Yes, it would be a blast. It would be fun. But I don't see it as kind of these games. But anyway, they showed Batman, believe it or not, and they called it Batman Arkham VR.
Yeah.
Again,
no gameplay, just a concept at the moment, isn't it?
It did say October, though.
Yeah, I know. It seems a bit soon with no
gameplay. Again,
everything else showed gameplay, didn't it? So
I think it's an experience. I don't think it's a full-blown standalone 40 quid VR full game like Resident Evil's obviously going to be. I think this is one of these experiences.
Yeah,
it's going to be a damn good one. And I see that's how I think this is how it's going to pan out for the first few months, 6 months of VR.
Yeah, yes, the next one isn't.
Well, this is the other one. The next one again was an experience, but it showed Final Fantasy 15.
No, tell me, was it? No, you said experience.
No, it was. It said it at the end. What happened? It showed Final Fantasy 15. Everybody was getting excited. It showed Chocobos racing. I actually thought they was going to offer a Chocobo racer in VR, which kind of made me smile. I could vision like horse racing, Chocobos in VR would be quite fun. I quite like that. I've seen other people post that. But then what they did show, if you remember, one part of the demo was a boss battle in like...
Yeah, we played that last year.
We played the exact demo when you fight that boss. There's all four of you. Yeah, the four of you are playing in like some little alcove that you can go round a corner and you use that power of like that grappling hook where you're hooked on. However, the Final Fantasy Experience, VR as they're calling it, literally is that scene and you're playing one of the characters but in VR. And I must admit, it looked pretty cool. It looked good fun. Again...
It looked better. I mean, graphically, it looked better than what we saw yesterday on Xbox. I mean, that must be a more up-to-date sort of trailer than game.
Well, obviously, they're hammering... Yeah,
it looked worse.
Yeah, I've got to say.
I like what I saw last year, but it didn't...
These experiences, again, it's a thing that there are going to be big games like your Resident Evil, and there are going to be experiences of cool games like your Batman. which we've got to wait and see how it's going to come. So this is then we move on, and I want to.
No, so do you draw a line under the VR stuff?
This is where I'm going to come to that, because I'm going to actually now read you. I'm going to read you my notes as I wrote them in order.
Yeah, then I'll read
funny.
You mine.
Right. This is my notes, word for word.
All right.
Next. Bearing in mind, we're typing as it's coming. So bearing in mind, we didn't know if there was a VR cutoff. So these are my words quoted. Next. Space-looking VR game, flying in a spaceship in space. Manic space shooter, jumps out of the ship.
Space, you sure?
Into first person. Seriously looks amazing. Gameplay looks stunning. I'm really sold on this if it's a VR game. Not quite clear if it's still VR.
Don't tell us what it is.
It's called... I'm not going to... ... And now we go to you.
Okay, sci-fi game, looked open world, space flying game. Well suited to the hardware. Looked a bit chaotic, though. But it must work okay.
So you think...
Now it's turned into a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Feels like... And
Wait.
that's exactly what it was.
Wait.
And I said
Let me just say first, before we announce what it is, do you think that was still in VR?
If it is, it's day one.
Right, and
Bloody
the game
hell.
was, guys, because I actually laughed. I chuckled out loud to myself, because the game, believe it or not, at the end of this amazing-looking clip, was Call of Duty. The new Call of Duty, and I actually laughed out loud to myself.
What's it called? Is it not?
It's the new Call of Duty that's out in November. I don't know the title, because to be honest...
Warfare, I think.
Because, to be honest, none of us were bothered about it.
It didn't have any VR or anything by it.
Right, this is the question.
So I was a bit unsure. I mean, it looked and played so well. I mean, the guns, the way the guns snapped in.
Do you know what I think that could be? I think it could have VR tied in. They didn't push it, but like we say, they showed at the top of this montage, here's some VR games. ... And they never did a cut-off.
No, and then
they
the
jumped
cut-off was when
straight into this clip of Call of Duty.
The matey boy come back on
He did.
stage. They also showed the COD 4, wasn't it?
I'm going to come to that. That's my next bit of notes. I'll cover that in a minute. So what I'm going to say is, I think again that I think it's the full experience of Call of Duty, obviously, but that game clip did really look like they pushed that, and that entire experience going into the ship flying, out of it with a grappling hook in space and shooting. Yeah. The way it was presented looked like a VR game.
Yeah, it did.
So I think it could be tagged in. I think this is me hoping, because I'm now a Call of Duty mysterious fan.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be the full game, play it normal, controller, let go. Yeah. And I think there are going to be certain levels. Our Call of Duty this year, I don't know if you did know, because this was controversial, the new Call of Duty this year that not a lot of people like, me included, was open right from the start. You could actually go into the chapters and play that game out of order. I think they're going to stick to the same genre, but each chapter you can pick, some of these chapters are going to be VR experiences. And I think you're going to have a choice. Now, if that's the case, I know they didn't push it, and I know they didn't say it. That's just my views. The way it was presented, where it was presented in the montage, it just felt, this has to be VR because it's still in the scene.
Yeah.
There was no cut-off. It was weird.
Hope it is.
I do. I do now, because that sold me that game straight away.
Yeah,
but I will say,
game's out in the first sort of month after its release in America. Unless you might not get your VR.
Do you know what's funny about it though? I'm already thinking this already. If that's not a VR clip, it's kind of a mediocre game for me. I might play it. It looks okay, but if that is a VR experience where I'm flying around space and getting out in my helmet and doing, I'm then sold again.
Yep.
So I'm already thinking along the lines of this VR could have a very big effect on my future gameplay.
Basically, what VR is going to do to the players is take you back from when you moved from, like when you get new stereo equipment or new headphones or when tape went to CD and you suddenly start hearing your music in different ways. You're going to go back and play not old games, but new games, but old genres that you've kind of moved on from. But they're suddenly going to feel different and play different because you're experiencing them in a different way and not just sort of the flat screen telly and your controller in your hand. So you're going to go back to the first person shooter and enjoy it in a new way.
It's like I've always said from the beginning.
Crazy.
This is what they're moving forward with new technology.
Yeah.
It's a different way. Like the Wii Mote was a new step in a new direction. That was, and I say it every single time on the show I talk about it, was a game-changing experience for me.
I'm totally into it, but I still, unfortunately, I don't know. I'd love to buy one. I'd love to have loads.
I think
of
what
games
you're
to
going to do, you're going to wait for my experience, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'll tell you something, there's no stopping you coming round to actually have a go.
Yeah, no, don't worry.
I've no doubt you probably will.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And then you'll be going out my flat and going to the nearest shop and saying, give me your money.
Yeah.
They moved on from the Call of Duty, which again has totally changed both our opinions of the game. It was a brilliant sell. I'm hoping it is VR. We'll probably hear later on in the week if it is or isn't.
Yeah.
But the next thing they showed, which was a bit of a one from left field because we'd not heard about it, and I also want to stress something here, which I think made the difference to this show, and it was talked about by a number of outlays as well. They showed Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. Probably the best Call of Duty Modern Warfare. It's been remastered.
Good,
it's coming on. It's old Soap McTavish, I think, or whatever his name is.
That's it, yeah.
All that. The best game. I enjoyed playing that game. Was
Snipers in the ghillie suits.
Yeah, look, really cool.
Yeah.
That's been made again. It's coming out. I didn't grab the date. I'm pretty sure it's going to be...
So it's the same. It's in the,
same time.
I think you get it with that game.
Oh, right. Okay. We didn't see that, so don't quote us on that.
Only on certain versions.
Yeah. I just want to say it and all before we move on to the next section of the show. What I am going to say, and this was stressed by, I think, 3 other outlets that I watched just after it. Do you know what made this show in its entirety completely different to Xbox? And they even covered it. They even said it. They even said, and these are professional journalists said this. No. They didn't have a single leak. Not one person in the industry, even the big guys said, and they even admitted this. They said,
how come?
They said, we're going to admit this, guys, that, last year we actually knew half of Sony's show because of leaks and things we'd worked on. And they sat there and said, we're so excited for this show because I can tell you now, not one of us at IGN know what's coming. Not one leak came out.
Yeah, I'm just going to skip up to the Xbox stuff. We kind of knew about...
nearly everything.
Forza Horizon 3, that was leaked, wasn't it? The Minecraft stuff we didn't know about, but didn't we really care?
No. Virtually everything of Microsoft's show was leaked.
The big news with the new hardware we knew about, the Halo Wars 2 probably didn't know about.
Do you know the difference of that? And I'm not trying to fanboy. Please don't see it as that, guys. I'm seeing it as it is, and it's not just me reporting, it's everybody. I think what it leaves you with, when you sat watching Xbox's show, knowing what's coming, is a completely different thing to sitting watching a show that you have no idea what's coming.
Yeah.
You're just on a different feel.
And that's probably why you feel a little bit deflated when it's over and you think, okay, well, I've only got 1 or 2 new bits out of that hour and a half, whereas there's only 1 or 2 bits that you did know of the PS.
This is it. But I think I want to reiterate that I think that's what's made this blow up so big on the internet as being an amazing show, because nobody knew about it. And do you know what? That's what E3 is about.
Do you think Sony, I mean, based on the games that we've talked about so far, do you think Sony had kind of sat back and thought, we don't need new hardware to make
I'm telling you now,
amazingly fantastic?
The way that they delivered this entire show, and we are about halfway, the way they've delivered this show is just a lesson in perfection of a gaming convention.
Yeah.
The 99% of people that are at that show are video game players like me and you. We are there to watch games. Yes, we like looking at shiny new hardware, but that's coming no matter what. We've invested a lot of money in these pieces of hardware. I want to see what the next 2 years of my investment's going to pay.
Yeah.
And Sony just delivered. It literally, like we said, 3 people came on that stage to talk, and they talked for 30 seconds. Because the rest was just 100% in your face gameplay, long gameplay, new IPs, and just you just sat there and it was like back in the old days of E3. When I first started watching E3 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was like that, when you had no clue what was coming, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's carry on.
We're talking to a minimum on it and just show the action.
No talk. Really this is what... and they didn't do it bravado, but it was like, look, 45 million you own one of these consoles, this is what you're going to be playing on it. And it's exactly what people wanted to hear.
They didn't talk about that 4.5.
Not a single word, mate.
Did they?
And do you know what? Has it done them any harm?
Not at all.
Not in the slightest.
And I think you called it yesterday. They rightly, they weren't going to mention it after what Xbox quite clearly trumped them with spec.
Well, obviously they trumped them, but as I said, I'll go back to that. It's 18 months away, man. It's nearly 2 years away.
You played good games on that for 2 years.
Yeah.
The release stuff will be all right.
I'll tell you what it is. That new console of Xbox is going to be awesome, as we've already said. It's going to be an amazing piece of tech. But for the 2 years I'm going to wait for it, I'm going to be playing some awesome stuff on my PlayStation.
Yeah.
So that's it. But anyway, we'll move on. again, this was really cool, actually. They came out after the Modern Warfare clip, and the stage had been transformed into some real fantastic visual experience. It looked like a beach, music played, people lost their minds because it was really cleverly done. It came out on stage and stood there, let the music carry on playing, by the orchestra, by the way, don't forget. And at the side of him was a brilliant shadow of Crash Bandicoot. We all know he was going to make an appearance at the show. What kind of surprised a lot of people, me included, it's not a new Crash game. What they are actually doing, they're releasing all the 3 remastered Crash games to PS4. I've got to say, I'm not a massive Crash fan. It's a very, very old game.
Do you know what I thought he was going to say?
Yeah.
And they're now playable in Uncharted 4.
That would have been pretty cool. But it is, well, there is, without a spoiler, it's a big spoiler. Obviously, it's an Easter egg in the very beginning of Uncharted.
Oh, yeah. Oops.
Is what you meant to say. So, but yeah, it's already in there. So I'm not a big fan of it. I think it's a very, very old game. It's one of the very first games that came to PlayStation. So it looks its age. Whether it will sell, I'm not quite sure. I'm undecided. But it looked cool. People laughed and joked and giggled, and it is what it is, I've got to say. They then actually went on to say, and this kind of got a bit more better reception than I thought. They said that in October, though, Crash is appearing in Skylanders, and they showed a montage clip of Skylanders, a kind of new mode that if you're into that thing, I'm guessing is quite cool.
I went for a toilet at this point.
Right, what happened was Skylanders, which is big business, we know it is. Crash is coming in there. They showed his clips and his gameplay. It looked quite fun. Skylanders is a game you're either into or you're not. But the thing that they tried to show, which was showcased a little bit more, which since then I've found out is pretty popular, they've now created a new version of Skylanders, or will be, that's going to be create your own. And they went on to show people actually creating monsters and aliens with tentacles. And we know it's open to putting rude things on items and putting it into Skylanders, but I'm sure there will be filters. But it did people was quite interested in that, in the Skylanders bit. So that's not bad. Crash Bandicoot's in it, as is a new form of Skylanders. The next clip again, outbursts the Star Wars orchestra music. I love that music when it kicks in. You just can't wait. And what it showed, I've got to say, this is actually probably made me buy this clip. And it's the clip of really funny 5-minute or so clip of Lego Star Wars. It's done to a T with the new movie. You can see it's the new movie, the scenes. And obviously the comedic value of Lego was in that clip. And I have to say, for the first time, it sold at me. And it's
got the real voices. It has, like the Jurassic Park.
It has, but I noticed that thing again that has bugged a lot of people for a lot of time. You can clearly see the game being played, and you can actually hear like a slight pause and move to the audio.
Yeah, it's almost like there's a hiss and it's a different volume.
I'll tell you what it's like.
It's very off-putting.
Sometimes in this show, I have to add bits to the edit after, and I talked about this the other day, because we've either missed it or there's been a bad thing go off. And what you have to do is press record into the thing that you've done, like our show now. And it is so difficult to get that natural feeling of talking. You can obviously tell somebody's like gone, as we're talking now, then in a minute somebody will go, and yes, on to the next piece, and I've had to say that, and it just sounds disjointed. That's how this kind of feels at times. It's like they've got a separate piece of audio, which does surprise me.
I don't know why they do it, because it worked so well in the old days with the little grunts and
but you know what?
Notes, and it's funny.
But you know what I can't work out, and they've done this now for the last 2 or 3, haven't they? You've got to think who it is, the vast amounts of money they've got, the vast amounts of technology they've got. Exactly. They must have HD quality digital audio files of them voices in their library. Are you telling me that an editor can't make a better job of putting that into Lego games? Because in the last 2 or 3, they've made an arse job of it.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be spending 6 to 12 months minimum developing this game.
And
we've seen it for 2 minutes.
And picked it out already.
It's out us already, and it's annoying.
And I was one of the first to say it on this show a couple of years ago. It actually took me away from the enjoyment of the game. I can't remember which one it was. It might have been the Lord of the Rings one.
Yeah, well, there's a test here, because there's a demo of it available now, isn't there?
Is there?
Yeah, it said demo. Go and get the demo now. You know,
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so it's on PlayStation.
Oh Christ, we are gaming in a minute. Definitely.
So you can go and have a little test to see how you feel about
I
that.
did also buy, quick sidetrack, I bought the new Trials that we spoke about yesterday in the show.
How big is it? What's it?
It's a big game. It's a full game.
It's a full-blown Trials game.
It's $11.99 with Plus. There's two versions. I think it's the same price, which is weird. $11.99 for just the game, or $11.99 on PlayStation Plus gets you the game and the music soundtrack.
Cool.
And it looks good. I watched a clip. I bought it. I've not played the Trials. I skipped the last Trials, so I'm actually quite looking forward. It's on my PlayStation already. I will be getting the Resident Evil demo as well, and now Lego. So
another Lego demo.
We've got some games to play. Okay, next, after the Lego Star Wars, can I just quickly, before we move on, are you into that now? Was you into it as it sold?
Which one? What, the Lego Star Wars? Oh, we always get them here.
Oh, do you?
It's like we have to. the wife and the kids are massive Star Wars fans.
And Lego as well.
Lego fans. Well, I think my wife 100%ed Lego Complete Saga.
Well done. Tell her well done from me. I'm a Lego fan. Well done.
Not only does the ironing, but she can 100% Lego Star Wars.
Brilliant. What a woman.
Multitask.
It is out in 2 weeks, as we say, so I might even grab that. I might try and find a decent offer on it.
Yeah, I'll probably get it on PC.
By the way, talking of offers and buying stuff, the Battlefield 1 offer I've been talking about on yesterday's show was already gone, and I am so pissed I'd been that busy doing this, I didn't have time to go and click it, which is really
By the way, I
annoying.
saw 43 minutes of gameplay. Very precise. 40-odd minutes of gameplay on
Battlefield 1?
Multiplayer, yeah, they're 32v32 multiplayer.
Was it good?
On YouTube. Yeah.
Oh, right.
It looks amazing.
Fair enough. God, this is crazy. Anyway, let's move on. Andrew House, which is another Sony exec, biggie, comes to the stage.
This guy.
He's a big one. He talks of, mission to make the PS4 a better place to game, as we've already talked about.
See, I wrote here we go, here's the stats of new hardware.
And he didn't.
No.
He came on, talked 30 seconds about, we're making game, and he actually quoted, we're making the best place to play games on the best machine. End of story. Drops mic, walks off, and that's it.
It's like threw it on the floor.
Bang, see you, cheers. So, what he then did, big stage presence again. The crowd went ape shit mental for this. And it was, of course, I think this was the only, I got a slight whiff of this, might be happening. And it is, of course, Hideo Kojima, the godfather of gaming, design, develop, and call him what you will. He is renowned to be like one of the best in the world ever. Recently, all that nasty split from Konami and the Metal Gear franchise.
So his last game was Metal Gear Phantom Pain, was it?
No, he was heavily involved in the one that we played, the big one, the last one.
Phantom Pain.
Is that what it was called, Phantom Pain? I don't think it was it? Anyway, by the by.
Yeah.
Anyway, the last Metal Gear, which was an awesome game.
Yeah.
But he left on very bad terms, really bad terms, and it was nasty. But he came down the stage, and he sat there, and the crowd really went mad.
Well, of course, he's like a god, isn't he?
Well, he is, and I've got to say, he makes amazing games, we know that. So what he's there for, and this is what everybody was talking about, nobody thought he was anywhere near showing anything, because he has signed with Sony, he has got his own studio, he's been given free realm, go and make a game. He came on and said, first it's the actor Norman Reedus. He's out of Game of Thrones, am I not right? I'm not a big game.
Walking Dead.
No, it's Walking Dead, not Game of Thrones. It's Walking Dead, my apologies. Big actor. Hideo Kojima came on and said, I'm now going to show you a clip. Thank you. This is an actual in-game, in-engine clip. It was a short one. It was a few minutes, but boy, was it weird. Was it all over Hideo Kojima's style? And the way it was presented, he was on a beach covered in like black oil. It then panned out and you was like a naked man. It was Norman Reedus. Yeah. Facial brilliance again, graphic quality was stunning to say it's a really early look.
Because he last popped up in that Silent Hill PT.
This is what people... Right,
that's what I wrote.
Listen, we'll come to that in a second. You're jumping ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
So the beach moves forward. He's on his hands and knees, stark bollock naked. People were saying you saw all his junk. Didn't look, didn't care, wasn't bothered. No. He goes forward and there's a tiny naked baby in front of him.
That had an umbilical cord.
An umbilical cord from him to this baby. Yeah. He then picks it up, hugs it, starts crying, gets very emotional, looks down, the baby's disappeared. He's got all marks of handprints all over him. He then gets up to walk forward and you quickly get, and these are all the talk after, he's got a big scar on his belly of a cross where it looks like he's either been cut open, either something's been put in him, something's come out of him or whatever. Yeah. He then turns round and he's facing on a beachfront with all the sea life dead, whales, fish, the lot dead. Now floating in midair was 5 character men, really weird, just floating way in midair. And he stands and looks at them. It fades to black, and it puts the name of this game. And the name of the game is a weird name. It's called Death Stranding. Now, it did look Hideo Kojima style, look really weird, really mad. But what I do want to stress, the talk after was people trying to digress what you've just said. What is this game going to be about? What style is it going to be? What it is? I heard a very weird thing, actually, and a good point, that montage of that video was a kind of Hideo Kojima coming out from the bad split from Konami.
Oh, really?
Like the 5 people in the air represent something from Metal Gear.
Oh, my God.
And all this, like a real hidden message.
He's done a Prince, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's like really weird. Like I've pulled away from, this is like my take on it.
Yeah.
And people were saying what I've listened, said this has probably got nothing to do with the game.
There's a Queen song back in the day, back in the 70s, called Death on Two Legs.
Yep.
Where Freddie Mercury wrote pretty much all the lyrics are based on the agent stealing all the band's money.
This is it.
And this is that kind of moment.
If you go and watch that Death Stranding clip, and it is all like tied into him pulling away, the umbilical cord's him tied to Konami. It was a really good synopsis of what people thought, and I thought, you know what, you could be bang on.
Yeah. But gameplay's probably a football game.
Well, this is it. It's probably like, it's probably it's a Tetris game to time with the Tetris movie. Anyway, let's move on. We're getting towards the end of the show now, but then this one crazed a great cheer. I'd already heard rumours about this slightly, so it was something I kind of heard of.
It's, what I kind of clocked it straight away, because as I was looking on YouTube for a stream, I saw
it.
You know when you're looking, you don't want to see anything.
You can't help it. I know, you can't help it, can you?
I just saw this game.
Anyway, Insomniac Games, and this is very important. Right, this is it. I'm going to mention this. And as soon as I say it, you'll go.
Name a few other games that they
I don't mean name a few. You're going to have to be quiet because you're making yourself look daft.
I will know them, but I just can't.
They're the people that made Infamous.
Ah, yes.
So if you look at the mechanic, because the game they announced was Spider-Man. So, apologies for the noise in the background. I've got windows open. It's Spider-Man, made by Insomniac Games, which clearly has got the mechanic of the flying through the air of Infamous. It ties in brilliantly to Spider-Man. All rumours are that this is going to be it's called Spider-Man PS4, was the title at the end, which was a strange one. So whether it's a PS4 exclusive, I don't know. But it kind of looked like that with having the PS4 at the end of the title. Whether that's an early game, which it will because it's Insomniac anyway, because they made Infamous exclusive. But it looked good, and I've got a feeling big studio like Insomniac could finally make a Spider-Man game that's worth playing. Got more cheers, I will say that. Did get a lot of cheers. So then we basically closed the show down. That was it. They came on stage, talks of future technology, thanked everybody, talks of the good games again, many new IPs, just games. Big montage of what looked like games that are coming out, like, close.
There's some stuff that we didn't.
South Park. I mean, we've not seen the Ubisoft show yet. Ricky has. I haven't. I'm going to watch that later today. And I've already seen things like South Park's out in December. That looks fantastic.
For Honor as well.
I haven't seen anything off that, so I'm going to watch that.
See that.
Yeah, it looks really good. So there's way more. This montage that Ricky speaks of, it's clearly games that's more close to being released, I think. They then finished, like I said earlier in the show, they showed a good 15 minutes of the Days Gone that opened the kind of show.
Yep.
A zombie-esque shooter, as I said, just manic shooting. It's worth a look. It just looks really cool.
Yeah, it kind of had elements of Left 4 Dead as well.
It did. It looked
getting attacked by a horde, wasn't he?
I'll tell you what. I saw somebody quote on Twitter. You know the zombie game that was on Xbox's show. Which one was it?
Hang on, let me scroll up.
What's it called? They're the big one that I'm not that keen on, where you create weapons and stuff.
What, Dead Rising?
That's it, Dead Rising. Yeah. Somebody quoted, well, Dead Rising's just been chucked in the bin. I'm now playing Days Gone.
Yeah, it could be the same.
Yeah, because I'll tell you why. If you want
Dead Rising's humorous.
Dead Rising is a different mechanic. You make your weapons.
Yeah,
this looks like it's got a story mode, basically. It looks like a big game. So, I then actually put at the end, you could clearly see it was, again, live gameplay. They did the thing with the split screen, the guy in the corner with his TV. Did look like he was playing it. Like I say, he must play that game a million times.
Yeah.
That was the end of the show. To great cheers, great rapture. The orchestra carried on playing. Fade to black, end of show. I just want to add that straight away, because I was watching IGN's feed. I put in my notes at the bottom. Yeah. IGN came on straight after. They lost their mind within seconds, kind of the way I felt. And there was all 4 of them calling. That was probably the best E3 keynote they'd seen, and they've been going to every single one. Obviously, it was hype after the event because I felt like it. I was busy.
Yeah, and I did want to come on here. An hour later, I'm a little bit more relaxed about it. A little bit more.
Yeah, because you've only just seen it. You're like coming down off a trip.
Yeah.
So let's summarise. There's no doubt that the internet has lost its mind about this keynote. It was good. We've hit on the subject. I think Ricky hit on it really, really well, saying they didn't need hardware because they delivered it correctly.
Yeah.
They delivered a giant, customer base of 40 million plus wanting to see what I'm playing on my machine for the next 2 years. I'll tell you something, and this is a bold statement, and we kind of addressed this yesterday. I wouldn't be at all surprised now if they put that new machine on the back burner and never mentioned it again for the rest of this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think they might do, because I think they'd be better, actually, doing that, concentrating on VR because it's got such a good reception. That's coming out in October. Forget the new machine. We don't need it. We don't need it right now. Leave it. You're not competing against anything because Microsoft's not coming out for 18 months. So you're not losing anything. You're in danger of putting yourself backwards again because you're in danger of bringing a machine out that customers aren't too happy with because they're wanting to have to buy a new machine. But they're going to be behind the 8 ball in 18 months' time because Microsoft are going to release an even better one.
Absolutely.
I would seriously now be having meetings at Sony and contemplating putting that in the bin.
Yeah.
I know. And now, if they've built them and they're already being produced, then they're knackered. They've cut their own throat. But personally, I seriously would be having meetings this week to say, guys, I think we ought to put this on the back burner. Let's take it back to the drawing board, leave it, don't mention it, let's concentrate on VR, Tokyo Game Show, all VR, let's show them the games they're going to be playing next week, and forget this new console, we don't need it.
Well, surely, I mean, if they can sell
45 million consoles...
VR headsets at 300 quid a pop, then that's a new console that they don't need to develop. They can put all their efforts into creating VR units, making it slightly cheaper so everyone can afford it, even more...
This is why I've said...
They sell half the community buys them. That's 20 million.
This is why I've said from the beginning, it doesn't make sense to bring that machine out this year to compete with your own hardware. Who the hell's got money to spend 350 on a VR unit and a new machine? It's crazy, man. It's just mental. But anyway, let's close this show. I'll hand over to you, Why Have a Drink. What are your complete thoughts? Give a score at the end if you wish. And let's have your thoughts on the entire show.
Yeah, love the show. It was so paced so well, and there was no time to breathe. It was just games, and I'll probably give it an 8,
right,
8.5. And it's not quite the games look fantastic, look good. We need to know more. The VR stuff brought me on board a bit more now.
That's worth a point in itself.
That's why I upped it to 8.5. Actually.
Yeah, that's worth a whole point, man. Definitely.
We're not gonna look back in the years to come at a killer announcement. Okay, like we did last year. I mean, you go back last year. What's the one thing you remember from last year's E3? It's backward compatibility on the Xbox One. Go back the year before. What's the one announcement you can remember? Do you know what I mean?
Anything about PS4. It was the price and everything.
There isn't one thing here.
No, and that's why they've pulled it off so well.
Of everything made it.
They didn't.
The
way it was delivered, they didn't need to have that giant announcement.
No, it's just consistent.
Correct.
All the way through.
Consistent. And this is my feelings on the final of it. The stuff they showed at the entire stage show, I could count on one hand, maybe less, 3 fingers of games that I'm not interested in. And I think that's the key thing here. You go through that entire show, and I'm talking about literally 2 games that I'm not that bothered about.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bash, but you look at Xbox, and I said this last night, there's very little on there that is going to make me want to play games on there because it's old games they're bringing out.
Yeah, well, let's just think of the exclusive. I mean, like the good things on the Xbox, Battlefield 1 they showed, which...
Battlefield 1, well, it's not exclusive, but Battlefield 1, Gears, Forza, they are the only game out that entire show that I know I'm going to buy and play was Forza.
Yeah.
Gears I'm not that bothered about. It's an old game. It's 10 plus years old. We've played it before.
Yeah, so you're not really getting anything new there, are you?
Battlefield 1's coming out on everything.
Yeah.
So depending, it doesn't matter. So I'm not here to bash. Let's go back to this because this is what we're about, Sony.
Yep, absolutely.
The show was brilliant. Like Ricky said, very well delivered. I love the orchestra idea. When it first kicked off, I thought, what the hell are you doing? This looks cheesy, this looks crap. But no, it absolutely was brilliant.
Really well, didn't it?
Yeah, genius move. That is fantastic. To get the actual bloke who did the actual soundtrack to God of War to kick off, set the whole thing in motion, and just carried on from there.
Yep.
My score, I'm going to give it a 9. I was going to go 8.5, but I think Sony did bring me what I wanted. My big thing was the VR. I've said on the shows for weeks, I wanted them to sell it me. Christ, did they sell it me. They sold it me on Resident Evil. And I don't think I'll tell you now, I'll probably play it for 5 minutes. The first time something jumps out there and I crap my pants,
straight off,
that headset's off and I'm going, I don't know, I'm off. No way am I doing that. But this is the fun of it. This is the immersion of it. I mean, that is what it's all about. And I seriously cannot wait to give it other people to show. I'm looking forward to having people on this couch and saying, here, put that on, play this a minute. And I'm going to get cameras and video them. Because it is, God, it just looks fantastic, honestly. So, yeah, they did do what I wanted them to do. My pre-order's staying exactly where it is. October can't come fast enough. However, a little bit of a thing on that, a caveat on that is, I want to know the release date for Europe. I'm frightened it wasn't mentioned as it was with the USA delivery. That is a slightly bit worrying for me.
There was need a bit of confo on that, don't you?
You do, because I don't... Because Sony is so good at giving release dates of all the hardwares, because in fact, with all the new PlayStation 4s, it was USA, Europe, prices straight across the board, always has been. For them to actually go out the way and mention October 13th for US and not mention Europe is a little bit worrying.
Was the PS4 released worldwide same day?
Couple of days. It was the usual USA, Europe 2-day.
So you might see a
but you see, but they would have announced it, wouldn't they? Because they did with the PS4.
If they've got it nailed in.
They would have, I think PS4 was like USA November the 9th, Europe November the 11th. And to me, why didn't they go PSVR October 13th, USA, October 15th, Europe? Frightens me, worries me. And I cannot tell you how disappointed I will be if that gets pushed to next year.
Would you get an import? Because it would work.
Imports would work. Can you imagine the cost?
Unless you know someone who's going over there.
Like you.
Yeah, I'll hang around.
Yeah, I actually know a few people that listen to the show that are in America, and I'm sure I could actually work out somebody to actually get one and, pay the postage. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. We're jumping ahead.
We don't know yet.
No. Let's just hope it is. I mean, I'll even take 2 months delay. I'll take Christmas. Bring it out in October. We're going to see what the hardware's running like. If there's any problem that's going to get ironed out.
Yeah.
So, I don't want a long wait. I don't want March next year.
No.
Couple of things to mention, by the way. The misses that were mentioned. No Red Dead again. No No Man's Sky. And no Last of Us 2.
Did you see the reason why Red Dead wasn't shown?
Yes, I'm going to bring that up now, which is
the rumour.
It's not a rumour. I think it's an official statement to what I'm reading this morning. Oh. Yeah, they've given that thing you've read is them giving the statement.
Okay.
And it's been put on the back burner. It's like next year now, without a doubt.
Yeah, there was no Crackdown, was there? Is
it Crackdown that's been delayed as well?
Crackdown's been delayed. I think Red Dead was not shown due to a recent terrorist attack, similar scene.
Oh, is that it? Is that I'm getting confused?
Yeah, well, that's a rumour.
I didn't see that one. I was getting mixed up. I'm getting mixed up with the Crackdown announcement.
Crackdown's delayed till next year.
Which is, they kept that quiet.
That's like 3 years now. So
didn't you think they swept that under the carpet?
Yeah, we didn't talk about it.
Well, they didn't talk about it, but then the announcement comes out after because it created a lot of worry. People were asking questions. They had to release a statement. And the statement was, guys, it's not out till next year. Okay, see you. Bye.
Yeah, it's done when it's done.
Weird.
We're not. The thing is, with Crackdown 3, we know what we're going to get. We're not scrambling over coal for it, are we?
Well, let's be honest. You ain't going to be short of games to play.
It was one of the best. I mean, we're looking forward to it because we've only had a couple of them, and we haven't had one for like 7 or 8 years.
I hope it's. Do you know what? I hope it's not going to turn into one of them Gears of War moments for me.
Well, that's
like, it's Crackdown 3. Quick, bang it in your machine. Sit there, play it 20 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, and I'm going. I'm collecting orbs, I'm jumping through buildings, I'm shooting some things, and I'm climbing a building, and I'm getting an orb, and I'm thinking...
well, that's what I think you're going to be getting.
Well, this is it.
You know,
again, an old game, which I want new games. I want to play something I've never seen before. So,
yeah.
Just one quick thing to close on. Last of Us 2 was the big rumour. Not a peep. Do you think it's being made?
Well, I thought Days Gone was what
the
it
very
was.
Last of Us environment, isn't it, towards the end?
I
Then you didn't get that far, did you?
But you didn't get anything from Naughty Dog, so...
Well, that's it. That's what we was talking about. That's why it's weird.
Yeah.
So
it's to follow. Who knows?
Maybe more news this week. Anyway, guys, it has been about an hour and a bit shorter, believe it or not. This has been...
It says hour.
It says an hour and 20 on my clock, and we started at 2 minutes 30. So, yeah, about an hour and 20 again. Yeah. So it's about right. So I think that should be all the E3 specials for us until Sunday.
Yep.
We are going to listen to Ubisoft, or Ricky or Izzy We'll probably...
Yeah, the PC show as well. There's that one.
Yeah, what we're going to do... Yeah, you ought to actually cover that because you're the PC guy, so you want to watch that and cover.
Yeah, and Hayden. Yeah. So.
What we'll do on Sunday, it's not going to be a normal run of the show. It literally probably is because we're going to have so much to talk about. We're going to have the two guys that's not even took part in this keynote or the last one of them. I think the best thing we can do with the show on Sunday is kick the intro off and literally just talk E3 all the way through and then go to questions.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to say, guys, if you want questions, because I'm guessing a lot of you are going to have some, crankytoz@gmail.com. If you make them E3 based, because clearly that's what we're going to talk about, and get them on the Facebook. We'll stick a Facebook page up probably Friday, Saturday for the questions, as I said. So I hope you've enjoyed these E3 specials because we're pretty hard
I've loved
this time.
it.
Yeah,
I've loved them so far.
It's E3 really back at its best.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic all round, and we are going to now probably play a few demos. Can't wait. I wonder if you can stream the Resident Evil demo.
Yeah, pretty sure you can.
We'll have a look. So anyway, guys, thanks, Ricky, for coming again early morning.
No
it's literally only 20 past 11. I've not even woke up. Not had no food yet either.
Oh.
I am dying on my
Get yourself a Domino's.
I've still got half of it left. I think that's going to be my lunch. So anyway, I think that's it, guys. I've enjoyed it again. E3's been brilliant, and we haven't finished yet. And I love doing this. I'm crazy keep doing this, but anyway, until Sunday, we are on all the forms of social media. crankytoz@gmail.com, as I've said, at Tozol, at Ricky32. Don't forget his Patreon page, guys. If you want to give us some support for doing all this, it's patreon.com/CGUK. Thanks for listening. Give us your feedback and see you Sunday. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.
Inside my room, it's like someone presses buttons and all I see is you. It's like the tender demolition of a matchstick man when the air is unconditioned by plastic.